Our destiny remains our choice. And tonight, more than 2 centuries later, it's because of our people that our future is hopeful, our journey goes forward, and the state of our union is strong.
That's what he had to say. We want to know what you think about President Obama's State of the Union. Are you feeling more confident as he leads the country into his 3rd year as president? Or are you more concerned than ever before about the fate of America? It's your call right now. President Obama struck a conciliatory tone in his annual State of the Union address this year, but will the next year really bring about the change he promised back in 2008, or will he run into roadblocks with a GOP-controlled Congress? Hello, everyone. It's good to have you with us. I'm Lynn Doyle. By now, you've had plenty of time to listen to the State of the Union address, digest its contents, and wade through the countless analyses that followed it. Right now, we're interested to know what you thought of it, and more importantly, whether it will motivate us as a constituency to move forward with optimism or skepticism. We've brought together 4 of our best political observers to weigh in on that and more, including J. Matthew Wolf and Kevin Kelly from the Republican side and Steve Askew and Tony Wiedemann on the Democratic side. Of course, as always, we're going to give you a chance to voice your opinion as well. If you want to tell me what you think, go ahead and email me right now. I'm at lynn@lynndoyle.net. Throughout the show, I'm going to share some of the emails that we receive on this topic. First, though, we're going to turn right over here to the Democratic side and get some reaction from my longtime friend and political analyst, Steve Askew. How did you feel that the speech was received in the days following President Obama's delivery?
Well, and I think he hit the right tone. I think a lot of people recognize it wasn't the typical partisan sniping type message. I think the last State of the Union I wasn't really impressed with because it was more in your face, more inside game. I think in this case he was a little more conciliatory, as you mentioned. I also think that he talked a lot about innovation and the need to be more competitive in the global marketplace. That's very important right now with our economy. And the second part of the speech, it wandered a little bit. I mean, I'll be candid with you. I have a great deal of respect for this president, want him to succeed, but I think he got off mark a little bit, and we need to get back to focus on the middle class and protecting that instead of just talking about the wealthiest 1%.
All right, so let's take a look at it from the Republican perspective and get your opinion on how it was received.
Well, what Steve said was right was that the tone was conciliatory, but that's all that was conciliatory. He doesn't get it. He hasn't seen where the country's moved. What he talked about was spending more money. He just changed the term from stimulus to investment. But he's really just talking about taking a dollar from me, having the government lose a little bit of it on the way, and then give it to somebody who's politically connected on the other side. And that's really was the core of his message.
That may happen here in Philadelphia with your Republican Party, but nationally it doesn't happen. I think what he was talking about, not much in the speech did he talk about raising taxes. What he talked about is cutting subsidies to oil companies, taking that subsidy money and putting it into new technologies for clean energy. I don't think he talked about raising taxes at all anywhere in his speech.
But Tony, it's not the government's job to determine who wins and who loses in a free market economy. You know, a smaller government is what this country was founded upon, and now the government's tentacles are in everything, from our health care to what light bulbs we can use to what kind of cars we can drive. Our government, you know, basically a government that is best that governs least. And I don't think our founding fathers would even recognize the things that our government has its tentacles.
It's funny you should mention that, Kevin, because the reality is, under most of these Republicans that are out there trash talking the president's speech the other day, which I had to laugh because they voted for higher spending, voted for higher deficits, higher debt. And now they got religion all of a sudden.
No doubt, but you're justifying bad behavior by pointing out other bad behavior.
And these are the same folks in leadership now. They just happen to have a good message, and during the campaign got people angry and knew how to blame the right folks. But the reality is they are a part of the problem. They've been a part of the problem.
Agreed.
It's funny, the budget deficits, you look at the last 6 presidents, the last 3 Democrats and the last 3 Republican presidents, and they have had an $8 trillion increase in the federal budget deficit under Republican leadership. So all you folks want to talk about this, put your money where your mouth is.
Okay, we will put our money where our mouth is.
Okay.
The president's plan over the last 2 years has quadrupled the deficit. We have a $14 trillion.
And that's despite the economy that he inherited. But that's okay, I understand.
Governments don't determine the economy.
Tell us something we don't know.
The government needs to get out of the way and allow the free market to heal our economy.
Yeah.
This tinkering at the edges, look, entrepreneurs don't know what the rules are. And they know what they do when they don't know the rules. they hold back.
Well,
And
it's
that's
funny.
exactly
It's funny
what's
you should
happening
mention
right
this
now.
because the president was prior to the holidays did something that was unprecedented. He actually worked with the Republican leadership, reached across the aisle, got the extent of the Bush tax cuts, and expanded them
He
to help middle class.
He didn't
Yeah.
want to do that.
He
He
did
was
that.
forced
No,
into
that's
it.
not
He
true.
was forced
No,
into it.
that is not
Kicking
true.
and screaming.
That is
Oh,
not true.
absolutely.
Oh, baloney.
And only
That's what
a
you
handful
wanna
of
do.
Republicans
Listen,
voted for
I
the
understand
structure.
showmanship. I know what you got to do, but that's not
Does
true.
it matter
It's a
that
fact.
he did it kicking and screaming as long as he did it?
No, but he didn't do it.
A win is a win. Is it
win
a good
is a win.
thing?
I'll
Can
take
you
it.
admit
The position is that he did
Can you
it-
admit it's a good thing, guys?
Yes.
I admit it's a good
Okay,
thing.
thanks.
Absolutely.
But the
Great.
position
Absolutely.
is, but your position is he would have done it otherwise, and that you're trying to blame Republicans. Look, there's complicity on both sides, mostly Democrats, because there's a fundamental disagreement between the role of government between the left and the right. The left believes that the government basically should be more involved in people's lives. The right believes that government is a small
Wait a
government.
second.
That is our founding
And you
principle.
want to privatize Social Security and
Yes,
Medicare?
I do want
away
to
with all that?
Yes, I do.
Oh,
Absolutely.
boy.
Put
That's
the money
wonderful.
right in the stock
And I want to
market.
abolish the Department of
movement-
Education.
the
and a lot of
movement-
I don't
other-
think
created
members
this-
on either side of the party are asking for government to be involved in anybody's lives
How's that
or
possible?
more. It's true.
You can't say that with a straight face.
I
The
can,
government
because-
is involved in GM, the buyout of GM, the bailouts of banks, $1 trillion
Those are
spending
those are
bill.
things.
How can
Those
you
are
say-
those
The
are things.
Republican support.
It doesn't. No, not a
come
single
on.
Republican voted for the stimulus plan. Not a single
The
Republican.
Wall Street bailouts? Come on, under Bush
No,
1,
you're
Bush
talking
2?
about talk.
Okay.
You're not talking
Come
about
on.
the
I'm going
bailout.
to jump in here,
Let's-
guys, because I think
Please.
the people at home are probably thinking the same thing that I'm thinking as I sit here and I say, I've heard all of this before. I mean, whether it's you four or four other individuals sitting here, we kind of rehash the same thing. I wanted to take this hour and kind of look ahead and say, okay, what are we going to do differently now to kind of address some of the issues that we have? And one of them right here is just a fundamental disagreement on what the government should be doing. How do you get over that hurdle?
What is the common ground between an ideology that wants a big government and an ideology that wants a small government? There really is not much common ground, and it is a battle that needs to be won or
And I
lost.
think
don't
that we
disagree.
saw in the last election where the American people are moving. That was a bottom-up movement. That,
What you saw in the last election is not that. What you saw was an electorate that came out that was more white, more Republican. If you take apples to apples and what the country wants, they do want small government. I think we're trying to do
There's not
that.
a racial component to the Tea Party movement, despite the best
No one
efforts
said
of
there
the
was.
left.
Well,
I'm
that's
talking
what
about.
you
I'm-
indicated.
No, what I'm indicating is turnout among Democrats and Republicans. What you saw in the last election was more Republicans turning out than you did Democrats.
because they were motivated.
As a consultant, I hope you believe that's what it was, because
It
I think
was.
that's a
Go
fundamental
back and look at the numbers.
misunderstanding of what it was.
Go back and look at the numbers.
2012
How
is
so?
going to be the same thing.
Go back
We've
and look
heard
at the
from our
numbers.
analyst here. Now I want to give you an opportunity to tell me what you think. What were your thoughts on the President's State of the Union address? Do you think the U.S. is going to be able to stay ahead of the competition, or do we continue to fall behind? That was something that he alluded to, and I definitely want to get opinions on that. And what about this newfound civility? Is it going to prevail, or do you think it's just going to be business as usual in Washington, D.C. and elsewhere? If you want to tell me what you think, you can email me at lynn@lynndoyle.net. And as always, you can find us on Facebook, MySpace, through Twitter, we're on YouTube, you name it, we're there. I'm not there, somebody's there. I try to be there, but I have no idea. We're going to take a few of the statements that have generated the most reaction and then give our pundits and, of course, you a chance to comment. So let's start with this one.
But now that the worst of the recession is over, we have to confront the fact that our government spends more than it takes in. That is not sustainable. Every day, families sacrifice to live within their means. They deserve a government that does the same. So tonight, I am proposing that starting this year, we freeze annual domestic spending for the next 5 years. Now, this would reduce the deficit by more than $400 billion over the next decade and will bring discretionary spending to the lowest share of our economy since Dwight Eisenhower was president.